Like and subscribe. I am not a prophet, somebody who magically looks into the future or can read the future. I am a spiritual philosopher and seer. What I do is I look at truth, and from truth, you can go from the known to the unknown. So I try to stay aware of what is going on, especially in this world of propaganda, lies, and deception. So let's get straight to the point. Start stocking up on canned goods and non-perishable items that have a life expectancy of at least 2 years. This is 23, 24. You can buy stuff now that's good for the year 2025, 2026 now. The reason I'm telling you this is because number one, cocaine was found in the White House. Now, a lot of people look at that and say it's no big deal. It is a very big deal when the people who are running the country are doing cocaine. And we don't know who is doing what. I do not play the surprise game. That's the first thing you have to understand. Second thing you have to understand, the United States has lost the war in the Ukraine. NATO has lost the war against Russia. Just Russia, the European Union with the United States in a proxy war lost the war to Russia. The Israeli war, the United States is losing that war also. Don't believe the propaganda. I've told people in other videos, we live in an age, this is not the 1960s, 70s, or the 1980s. This is 2023. We have guided missiles, GPS missiles. They very seldom miss. But now China has come up with a system called Baidu that is better than the GPS, and this system can go through the window, your front windshield in your car. That is how accurate this missile is. The United States does not have this, and the United States will not win in Israel because, first of all, they could not beat Russia in the Ukraine. Israel is surrounded by all of these Muslim nations, and they're all getting into it. They have put sanctions on Israel. Understand this. The United States is sending aircraft carriers toward Israel. Guess who's sending submarines toward Israel? China. China is more further advanced in technology than the United States. Very much advanced. And China and Russia told the United States, stop it. Cut it out. Also, the European Union has put sanctions on Israel. Now, why would the European Union put sanctions on Israel? Because they want them to stop. Why do they want them to stop? Because they know if they couldn't beat Russia in the Ukraine, they do not want war in the Middle East and have to deal with Russia, China, and the Muslim country. And guess what? When you go to war with somebody, you have to have a supply line. Europe would not have a supply line that could reach Israel because you got to go through what? Muslim nations. You can't go through Muslim nations. They're not going to give you, they're not going to allow you in their airspace. And you can't go through this, and you can't go through the ocean or the sea because China is there. Now, United States is there with what? 2 aircraft carriers out here. An aircraft carrier is nothing compared to guided missiles with warheads. Warheads designed to take this crap out. Let me tell you something. That is just, and Russia has a missile that is the fastest missiles in the world. Russia owns them. And see, Russia can take out the Ukraine anytime they want. But see, Russia does not want to kill innocent men, women, and children. So Russia is just hitting military targets. Israel is just hitting everybody. That's genocide. They're just boom, 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 killing anything that moves. And they thought that the United Nations was going to go for it. Well, the United Nations has been quiet for 75 years. But now you have all-out war, and and France, Germany, UK, they don't want this action. It would be suicidal. Suicidal. Plus, they done already spent too much money. They spent too much money in the Ukraine. And only thing that the Ukrainians did was the few weapons and arsenal stuff that was given to them, they left them on the battlefield. Russia got them. And the Ukrainians, they don't have the military. They don't have the ground troops. These guys are old. Israel, those guys in the military, they are old because they have been, you haven't been hearing about it. You probably haven't been, if you're watching TV, American TV, you don't know the casualties that Israel has suffered in this guerrilla warfare, which I explained in another video before this whole thing started. They're coming up from tunnels behind those tanks. And they're hitting those tanks with handheld rocket launchers on the shoulder, and they got double warheads on them. And they're taking out tanks. Not only are they losing lives, the money, the cost doesn't even make sense. And now you're going to go defend Israel and they're surrounded? That's why the European Union put sanctions on Israel to tell them to stop. Now the question is, the United States is all mixed up. Republicans are fighting Republicans and the Democratic Party. They have gave Biden a blank stamp to do anything to do anything he wants to do. But the European Union, they're stepping back trying to get out of this mess. But see, the United States, the only ally that the United States has now is Israel. I mean, Israel, we're the only ally Israel have. Everybody else put sanctions on them. Britain is trying to, Britain and UK, they're trying to stay as low key as they can. Canada is trying to stay low key as they can because the technology is in Russia and China. It's in Russia and China. And not only that, Europe is getting kicked out of Africa. African presidents, even the puppets, are telling them, get out. We don't want your military here. And then another thing about the United States military, it's spread it thin. I hear that the United States got something like 280 bases spread spread out throughout the world, and they got 1,000 troops on each of those bases. And then we only have about a little over 500,000 troops. And they're spread out all over the place. Then what the United States did, the people that joined recently, what they did was force them to take a shot of an untested drug. And then a lot of soldiers left. And when they left, they gave them undesirable discharges. Undesirable discharges. Now all of a sudden, reality is hitting them. And they're telling them, well, forget about that. You can come on back and you don't have to take the shot. They're telling these people they kicked out, whose lives they had ruined, that you can come back and you don't have to take the shot. Would you trust somebody that did that to you? Would you trust somebody that did that to you? See, the problem is this. The United States is not playing with a full deck. They're not playing with a full deck. And then, and I'm trying to get this over quick. If Trump was to get back into office, Trump already betrayed Europe. Trump betrayed Europe. So if he gets back in office, Europe is going to abandon the United States, because this is the guy. Biden was supposed to straighten out the mess, but Biden hasn't straightened out the mess. Biden is trying to bulldog people. He's trying to bulldog people. The United States has no personality. It doesn't know how to talk and get along with people the way China does, the way Russia does. England doesn't even know how, because they're used to bullying countries. And when they can't, their ego is like that of Israel. They were savages. They are 9% Neanderthals. And the reality of the situation, a long time ago, in the 60s and 70s, they said, they were on TV commercial, it says, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. And they were talking about black minds. Now that you have pushed black people out of the high-tech industry, China has caught up. After all, we invented the internet. Everything China is doing is an improvement on what we created. There's no telling what we would have created if it weren't for racism. Like and subscribe. Talk to you later. Stock up on food. Because the United States doesn't have good sense. And see, one of a big problem is it's easy to be a bully when you are thousands and thousands of miles away and there are oceans that people have to cross. But if you are on drugs, getting high, doing whatever, then you don't realize that they are high speed rockets. And Russia has the fastest that not only see, normally when they track something, it's going in one direction. But see, Russia has a missile where you can't just send something to hit it, because this missile can change directions. It can change directions and hit its target. It can change directions and hit its target. It's not going to just go. And then you figure out the coordinates and then you boom. This thing you don't know where it's going. So you can't intercept it. You can't intercept it. Buy groceries. Stock up on food. And then another thing, eventually, they may put sanctions on the United States. See, United States, and then in 2024, United States won't be able to put sanctions on people because of BRICS, and they're starting their own currency, which is going to weaken the dollar anyway. So prices will probably skyrocket. And then the United States is so busy lying to its people in propaganda. A missile could be headed to the United States, and guess what? They wouldn't even tell us. And if it hit, they would tell us it's something else. Well, I'm gonna say this. This is what when I accumulate the truth, this is what I come up with. And if you disagree, then you do your research, and then you leave a comment and tell me what you see, and we'll have a discussion. Like and subscribe.